Okay, we are now joined in the media center by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe Chevrolet. Jimmie, you've had a chance to get out on track. You have had a lot of success here. Just talk about the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see. Is this thing on? Yep, I guess it is. The track is surprisingly rubbered up for what we're used to seeing at this point. It's I think throwing a lot of the teams for a little bit of a loop with their setups. We're used to a little bit more of a green racetrack right now, and a track that has kind of a little bit more grip in some respects. So certainly a challenging practice session. Qualifying is going to be interesting. It's only going to get hotter and more slick with the cars that are on the racetrack. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple cars get turned around in qualifying and make for an exciting qualifying session.
Great. We'll now go to the media for questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question for Jimmie Johnson. Okay, we'll start with Claire, and then we'll go to Joe.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius NASCAR Radio. Well, the conversation with all the drivers in here has been about the penalty that came down, the penalty for Clint Boyer. And Denny Hamlin was in here and said that he was not shocked to hear the news that the penalty came down because he felt that word had been around the garage for months that they were pushing it too far. This is something on the first look over at the R&D Center that you guys went through where you got warned, but then NASCAR said they didn't come back and penalize you because you guys fixed it. What is your reaction to all of this, and were you shocked? Did you know, or had you heard or thought that maybe that team was pushing it?
I heard something after Richmond, and frankly, after Richmond, the statement that was released, I was excited to hear that because, it's a situation we were in, and people felt that we may have been illegal, and NASCAR didn't want to, nail us on it, which is complete BS. At the end of the day, NASCAR has made it very clear to us, with what we experienced in Sonoma 2 years ago, maybe. And then as the car of tomorrow has come along, there is zero tolerance. It doesn't matter if it's only the thickness of a quarter. They don't care. And I'm happy. I hate that the 33 is in this position, but NASCAR has to be consistent with what they do, and zero tolerance is zero tolerance. So there's no, well, I'm sorry, you're close. It's black or white, and I've experienced that on my own, right? And I know some other teams have, and now the 33 is going through it as well. But I did not know that there were multiple warnings to them. And when you are warned, it's kind of a weird situation because as a race team, that is your job, is to push it right up to the edge. So we've been there before and faced with the decision, well, you got to back off a little bit. I mean, they're warning you, and you're too close to the tolerances, and with cars that are made of steel and can get bumped around, moved around, and for whatever reason, if it's contact on track or from a tow truck or push truck, whatever it is, you've got to leave yourself some room to be on the right side of the line.
Joe Menzer.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Jimmie, one of the other things that's been a popular subject in here, NASCAR, the precedent was long ago set that they would not take away wins when stuff like this happens. Do you understand why that is, or agree with it, disagree with it? What's your opinion on that?
Man, it's all I've ever known. So with the penalties as stiff as they are now, yes, you do get the trophy and the check mark in the book, but the penalty's so stiff. It's hard to say. I mean, the days of just blatantly doing something to get around a rule from NASCAR are far behind us. We're just dealing with very tight tolerances on a weekly basis, and trying to find an advantage. You live close to that line and get in trouble. But all I have ever known has been points and fines, and the win stays. So to me, it's just something I haven't really thought about, and no big deal.
You got Randy.
Hey, Jimmie, Randy Cove with Kansas City Star. Can you hear me?
Barely. I don't think
Can you
it's
hear me
you.
now?
I think it's the PA system. I'm not sure it's you.
I'll come up here.
All right.
We can file this under the blame it on Jimmie Johnson. But
Can you go to the back again now?
But to talk about maybe tweaking the chase, adding drivers or separate point system, or being that what you've done over the last 4 years, you like it as is, I imagine, or could you see some tweaks to the chase for next year?
There's questions surrounding that all the time, and to be 100% honest with you, I don't care what the point system is, how many drivers, what tracks. I will show up and do everything I can and try to win the championship. So I could care less. Whatever the scenario is, I'll race it, and I feel that our team is strong enough to be competitive in any format.
Other questions for Jimmie Johnson? Jim Utter, way in the back there.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Jimmy, when Clint was in here at the beginning of the day, he gave a long and spirited defense of his team, and I'm sure you're shocked that he mentioned that there may have been other cars that were illegal at New Hampshire, and pointed to you and Denny Hamlin's for having to go through the height sticks twice. I'm sure that comes as a complete surprise to you, right?
Man, our car was so illegal, it was ridiculous. I'm surprised it even passed, period. No, I didn't even know. I heard about that. I just saw something where he was holding up a quarter. But, man, I don't know what goes on through tech, and I didn't even know our car was in question or had to go through the sticks twice. Shit, I don't care. I just drive the car. I show with my helmet and go. I've been nailed plenty of times, and let's just stir things up. And NASCAR gave the 11 and the 48 a little slack and let us roll through and wanted to nail the 33. We'll just take that angle. Have some fun with it.
Other questions for Jimmie Johnson? We'll go with Brian Nelson.
Well, this is
Right
really
on.
easy for you,
let's
Jimmy.
Play into it, because regardless of what I say, people are going to believe that. So the hell with it. Let's just ride it.
Brian.
Real easy for you. When you go back to California, the feeling of just going back home, can you describe what that's like and what's going to be on the schedule when you go back in a couple weeks?
Yeah, excited to go back. We have our Jimmie Johnson Foundation major fundraiser that takes place in my hometown, in the area of my hometown, I should say. And we do a lot of great things in raising money for a variety of things. And this year it's, again, going to be a grant system for school districts in the area. So I'm very excited to go back, although there's a lot of work for me going home for the golf tournament and the dinner that's beforehand. But I really enjoy the racetrack. I enjoy the weather, the atmosphere. In-N-Out Burger, the Mexican restaurants I'm fond of in the area. So it's always good to go home. There's a certain feeling about it. I've won my first race there, my 48th race there. There's a lot of cool things about that racetrack for me.
Fish tacos?
Oh, yeah, fish tacos, lots of lime. Post-race, add a Corona to the mix, and we're in good shape.
Other questions for Jimmie Johnson? Nope. Thank you, Jimmy. We have one more. Hang on. We have one more. Bob Hawker, so we have in the back. Oh, now we have David Newton.
Bob Hawker, Scene Daily. When you look at Clint as far as a competitor on the track, do you look at him as a guy who's 35 points out of first, or do you look at him as a guy who's 185 points, depending on his appeal?
Well, I mean, where they are mathematically is kind of where they are. Clint, aside from all the other discussions earlier and having fun with saying our cars are illegal and they just wanted to nail the 33, he and that team have done an amazing job, and they are a very serious threat to the championship. And again, you have to go back to the deal that there is zero tolerance with this new car. Opinions can be formed in all different directions, but there is zero tolerance with the COT, and I've lived it firsthand. So all that said, Clint and his team are a serious threat, and Clint has had a lot of momentum on his side and running really strong leading up to the New Hampshire race. And they're in a deep hole, and we'll just have to see how it plays out for him. But he and his team are doing a great job.
All right, David Newton.
Yeah, Jimmy, David Newton, ESPN.com. Denny was saying how this is kind of like his wild card race, the one he's got to get through because he hasn't done very well during the chase. Have you got a track that you kind of consider that's tough for you to get through, that you have to do well at to get through the chase?
Man, the last few years, Atlanta has been that track for me when I think about a track and performance, but it's not in the chase any longer. So, looking forward, I don't think I have an option. I think my bad race is hopefully behind me in New Hampshire, which I've anticipated finishing a lot better in. And we had some troubles on the short run, but had a good car. I've got to the front starting 25th and was running well, and we unfortunately had a problem with the right front wheel. But I guess looking forward, all 9 need to be good for me, the position I'm in right now.
All right, Steve.
Steve Richards, the PRN. Jimmy, talk about going to Kansas and why you've been able to run well there pretty much since that track opened up? Was it a place where you just kind of, got, hit on some things that you liked right away?
Yeah, for a mile and a half, I think that Chicago and Kansas are pretty similar. And in years past, mile and a halves have been, our bread and butter and been really good for us. And Kansas has a really cool transition in and off the corners to where you can run second and third lane. It's pretty friendly, and you can search around and try to find a line. The asphalt has aged pretty quick there too, which has allowed us to run multiple lanes and move around. So in general, it's a track with options. For a mile and a half racetrack, it has a lot of options, and I've enjoyed racing there over the years and been able to get a win there.
Any more questions? All right, now I think you're done.